Title V is pretty specific for some of the measurements that need to be completed by the health inspector at a percolation test. So those include the measurement of the shelf itself, and that is basically the top of the hole of the percolation test, which is down here. And the reason for that is to make sure that the percolation test is being performed in the most restrictive soil layer that's going to be used underneath the leaching facility. So you would measure the shelf depth, you'd measure the width of the percolation hole, has to be at least 12 inches wide, and the depth of it has to be at least 18 inches deep. So those are the preliminary measurements that you would undertake before the actual percolation test is begun. A percolation test is one parameter that gets measured pretty precisely, and it has to be examined and documented by the local health inspector. And the reason for it is under saturated conditions, it's a way of approximating what might happen in the soil underneath a leaching facility. So what occurs is you, after the hole is dug and prepared, water is filled up to about the 12-inch mark, and it needs to be maintained at that mark for 15 minutes at least. It can go up a half an inch, down a half an inch in that range, but it's generally kept at the 12-inch mark for 15 minutes. And during that time period, it allows the soil particles to swell up and kind of represents what might happen underneath the leaching facility at saturated conditions. So we'll keep it at 12-inch mark for 15 minutes and then begin our percolation test where we add no more water and we allow it to drop down. We are now at the 9-inch mark. So the water has dropped from 12 to 9 inches, and this is the beginning of the percolation test. So at this point, you would note the time. Either if you're using a stopwatch, you would start the stopwatch, or note the time on a watch of some sort, and we're going to measure the last 3 inches and see how long that takes. So we are now at the 6-inch mark. We have reached the limit of our percolation test. So what you will do is record the time now. You will record the time, or look at the time that it was when the water was at the 9-inch mark, and subtract the difference. That's the total amount of time that it took to go down those 3 inches, and you divide that by 3, and that is the percolation rate in minutes per inch. How many minutes per inch did it take to go for the last 3 inches? That is the actual final stage of the percolation test.